Attention and Memory, prepared and presented by Dr. V. Vasudevan, Assistant Professor and Head, Department of Educational Psychology, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Chennai, and Dr. P. N. Lakshmi Shanmugam, Assistant Professor, Department of Educational Psychology, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Chennai. Learning objectives. After completing this module, the student teachers are able to explain the concept and educational implications of attention. Explain attention as a factor affecting learning. Define memory. Gain an insight into the mental processes involving memory. Analyze the different types of memory. Develop the attitude to gain attention in different situations of life. Introduction. Attention is the process of the mind to get an experience in our environment. It is the primary precondition of all types of our mental activity: cognitive, knowing, affective, feeling, and cognitive acting. We will attend to an object which attracts us. A dominating stimulus in the environment gets attention. So, attention is a process which produces interest to select the particular stimulus from various stimuli in the environment. Definitions of attention. A few definitions are presented below to understand the proper meaning of the term attention. Ross, 1951. Attention is the process of getting an object of thought clearly before our mind. Smith et al. In 2004, attention is defined as the ability to select some information for more detailed inspection while ignoring other information. Types of attention. Ross in 1951 brought out a classification of attention which is shown in the following flowchart. Attention, it will be divided into two types, non-volitional and volitional. Non-volitional will be divided into two types, enforced and spontaneous. Volitional will be divided into two types, implicit and explicit. Non-volitional or involuntary attention. This type of attention is aroused without the play of the will. Here, we attend to an object or an idea without making any conscious efforts on our part. Mothers towards her crying child, attention towards the bright color or sudden loud noise, etc. are examples of non-volitional attention. This attention has two subtypes as follows. Enforced non-volitional attention. The attention caused by instincts is called enforced non-volitional attention. For example, a mother's attention towards her crying baby. Spontaneous non-volitional attention. The other subtype of non-volitional attention produced by sentiments is called spontaneous non-volitional attention. It is the result of properly developed sentiment towards the object or idea of a person around whichever sentiments are formed with. Volitional or voluntary attention. When the exercised will is called upon, it becomes volitional attention because it demands the conscious efforts on our part. It is at least automatic or spontaneous. Attention paid at the time of solving an assigned problem of mathematics, consulting the railway timetable at the time of embarking on a railway journey. In the examination hall, a student concentrates on the answer to a question and keeps away his mind from the distracting elements like the movements of the supervisors. Implicit volitional attention. It refers to the attention aroused by a single act of will. It is obtained by introducing motivates such as rewards or punishments. Explicit volitional attention. It refers to the attention which is aroused by the repeated acts of will. One has to struggle hard for keeping oneself attentive. Factors influencing attention. The factors which are influencing attention are broadly classified into two external factors and internal factors. External factors. External factors are those characteristics of outside the situations are stimuli which makes the strongest bid for capturing our attention. Let us examine these characteristics. Nature of the stimulus. All types of stimuli are not able to bring the same degree of attention. A picture attracts attention more readily than words. In the sense, colored pictures are more forceful than black and white ones. Intensity and the size of the stimulus. Compared to the weak stimulus, the intense stimulus attracts more attention of an individual. Our attention becomes easily directed to a loud sound, a bright light, or a strong smell. Contrast, change, and variety. Change and variety strike attention more easily than the sameness and the absence of change. If we are talking to our students, the use of maps and charts suddenly attracts their attention and it helps to break monotony. Novelty attracts attention. Repetition of stimulus. Repetition is a factor of great importance in securing attention. We may ignore a stimulus at first instance, but when it repeated several times, it captures our attention. Movement of the stimulus. A moving stimulus catches our attention more quickly than a stimulus that does not move. In other words, we are more sensitive to objectives that move in our field of vision. Most of the advertisers makes use of the fact and try to capture the attention of people through moving electric lights. Internal factors. How much and in what way will a person attend to a stimulus depends not only upon the characteristics of that stimulus or favorable environmental conditions, but also upon his own interest, motivates, urges, and basic needs. Let us see how these inner factors secure attention. Interest. We attend to objects in which we are interested and do not attend to those in which we have no interest. A boy interested in hockey will be more attentive to watching a hockey match than the football or volleyball matches played at the same time on the adjacent grounds. Motives. The motives like thirst, hunger, curiosity, and fear. Exercise has a definite influence upon attention. A hungry person is sure to notice the smell of cooking. The man who fears a snack will definitely attend to all the things resembling a snake. Habits and temperament. A person who is habitual and temperamentally attracted towards cleanliness, morning walk, healthy intake, exercise, etc., will always attend to any performance such as tasks and behavior that may suit his habits, temperament for the stimulus to which one wants to react and attend to more and more in his personal and professional environment. Mental setup. Mental setup means the tendency or bent of the whole mind. A person always attends to those objects towards which his mind has been set. A person waiting for the letter of his beloved can recognize the envelope among a huge pile of envelopes. Span of attention. Span of attention is in general how much one can perceive the things or events at a very short time. Individuals differs in their span of attention. The span is the threshold point to perceive at a glance at a given time of exposure. Mangal in 2005 defines the term span of attention as the quality, size, or extent to which the perceptual field of one individual can be effectively organized in order to enable him to attend to a number of things in a given spell of short duration. Experiments on the span of attention. The following experiments focuses on the measures of the span of visual attention. Hamilton's experiment. Sir William Hamilton in 1859 did the first experiment on the span of visual attention. He spread out the marbles on the ground and asked the subject to attend to them. He concluded that an average span of visual attention is limited to 6 to 7 marbles. Tacitoscope experiment. Falling door type tacitoscope is usually used to find the span of visual attention. It consists of a wooden screen having a window or hole in the middle. Digits, letters, or small patterns printed on cards are interested in the apparatus to be seen through the window. The exposure is quite short, generally 1 by 10 seconds, which is regulated by a movable falling shutter. The subject is asked to see and record the details of the card shown through the window. The correctly reproduced answer is considered as the one's span of visual attention. Distraction of attention. When we are attending to a stimulus, object, person, place, idea, or activity, for its perception, something may happen in the external environment as well as within ourselves that tend to intrude or divert our attention from the stimulus. This thing or even belonging to our environment thus interferes with the natural process of our attention. Thus, the process that interferes with the natural process of paying attention towards a stimulus is known by the term distraction, and the things or events lying in the environment responsible for distraction are termed as distractors. Distractor as a psychological term has been defined by H. R. Bhatia in the following way. Meaning, distraction is any stimulus that does not fit in with the line of thought or purpose of the moment. It is a stimulus that attracts attention away from the things to which we want to attend. A student may be attending a class, but a procession on the street is a distraction as it takes away his attention. The loud noise of the fan is a distraction too. Sources of distraction. There are two factors, external and internal, which are the sources of distraction. Noise, improper lighting, uncomfortable seating arrangements, unfavorable temperature, inadequate ventilation, improper lighting arrangements, defective methods of teaching are some of the external factors. Emotional disturbance. Ill health, anxieties and worries, lack of motivation and feeling of fatigue are some of the internal factors that are the sources of distraction of attention. Memory. Memory increases our efficiency. Memory enables us to remember important facts, ideas, names, etc., and other items of information. Memory, in fact, it is one of the best friends, guides, and philosophers of an individual. Without memory, an individual becomes inaccurate and inefficient. Memory is the function of the mind by virtue of which it records, retains, and produces ideas gained by its own activity. One of the important aims of school instruction is to encourage learners to acquire and retain the knowledge imparted in schools in future for use both in school life and meeting out of school problems of the present as well as of the future. It is therefore essential to take proper steps so that students are able to retain and recall easily the information occurred even after a time gap. According to J. A. Adams in 1967, memory is the learning capacity for responding and its persistence over time is measured by the retention test. Memory is the state of a subject that gives the capability for correct occurrence of a criterion response. There is an initial acquisition session in which the subject makes a discriminative responses to a stimulus followed by a period of time called the retentional interval when the criterion response does not occur. James Drever observed, memory is that characteristic which underlines all learning, the essential feature of which is reflection. In a narrow sense, it covers recall and recognition. Reburn explained the power that we have to store our experiences and to bring them into the field of consciousness sometime after the experiences have occurred. It termed as memory. Spearman was of the view cognitive events by their occurrence establish dispositions which facilitate their recurrence. Stout defined memory as the ideal revival so far as field revival is merely reproductive, in which the objects of past experience are reinstated as far as possible in the order and manner of their original occurrence. Woodworth and Marcuse stated memory is a mental power which consists of a learning, retaining, and remembering what has previously been learnt. Memory is the reproduction of past experience even without the presence of stimulus. Memory may be explained as under stimulus, response, occurring on experience, retention, time gap, recall. According to Woodworth, four main elements of memory are learning, acquisition, retention, recall, and recognition. Learning. It is the process of establishing association of the ideas in mind. Retention. It is the process of relegation of the past experience in the subconscious mind of the individual in the form of a mental experience. Recall. It is bringing again in the mind the past experience on the basis of association of ideas. Recall is of two types, spontaneous and deliberate. In spontaneous recall, no effort is made to recall, but the experiences or ideas just flow in. In deliberate recall, an effort is made to recall something. Recall is dependent on association of ideas. This association of ideas is dependent on these laws: law of similarity, law of contrast, law of contiguity, law of regency, law of frequency, law of primacy, and law of vividness. Recognition. It is the capacity to recognize or express knowledge of all, seeing a thing that has been seen earlier. Storage systems. Psychologists have tried to classify memory into certain types according to its nature and purpose it serves: sensory, short term, and long term memory. One of the broad classifications consisting of sensory or immediate memory, short term memory, and long term memory is based on the storage and transfer model of remembering. Sensory or immediate memory. Sensory or immediate memory is the memory that helps us individual to recall something immediately after it is perceived. In this type of memory, the retention time is extremely brief, generally from a fraction of a second or several seconds. Old sensory impressions disappear as they are erased by new information. Immediate memory is needed when we want to remember a thing for a short time and can then forget it. For instance, when we enter an auditorium, we see the seat number given on our ticket. Having occupied the seat, we forgot the seat number. We took up a telephone number from the dictionary and remember it. But after making the telephone call, we usually forget it. In all the cases of this nature, immediate memory is needed, which help us to learn a thing immediately with speed and accuracy. Remember it for a short duration and forget it rapidly after use. Short-term memory. This type of memory is also temporary, though not nearly as short-lived as immediate memory. In order to further distinguish it from short-term memory, the following factors should also be taken into account. Where the retention time is less than 1 second in immediate memory, the information temporarily stored in short-term memory may last as long as 30 seconds if the material is not being rehearsed. Whereas the sensory images in immediate memory decay regardless of the learner's actions. Rehearsal by the learner can keep material in short-term memory definitely. The span of immediate memory exceeds the short-term memory span. whereas 5 to 9 items, the magical number 7 plus or minus 2, can be held in short-term memory at any one time. About 11 to 13 items are available to recall in the immediate memory for at least half a second. However, some people are able to retain much more information in their short-term memories by a process called chunking, which groups information by coding it. Example, the number 143254376 can be remembered by listing under three heads: 143254376, and the number 149162536496481 can be arranged as 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81 in groups of the squares of 1 through 9 for better remembering. Long-term memory. Unlike short-term memory, long-term memory has a seemingly limitless capacity to store information with little or no decay and requires little, if any, rehearsal. In addition to these characteristics, long-term memory codes information according to meaning, pattern, and other characteristics in this memory that helps us to remember a number of things on a relatively permanent basis. Remembering identifying data like one's names, father names, date of birth, date of marriage, etc. is the simplest example of long-term memory. We can easily store, retain, and remember most of the things in our life at a second's notice, and thus easily conduct our daily life. Duration and functions of memory storage systems. Learning and memory operate together in order to increase our ability for navigating the environment and survival. Learning refers to a change in behavior that results from acquiring knowledge about the world, and memory is the process by which that knowledge is encoded, stored, and later retrieved. Psychologists distinguish between three necessary stages in the learning and memory process: encoding, storage, and retrieval. Encoding is defined as the initial learning of information. Storage refers to maintaining information over the time. Retrieval is the ability to access information when you need it. If you meet someone for the first time at a party, you need to encode her name while you associate her name with her face. Then you need to maintain the information over time. If you see her a week later, you need to recognize her face, have it serve as a cue to retrieve her name. Any successful act of remembering requires that all the three stages be interacted. However, two types of errors can also occur. Forgetting is one type. You see the person you met at the party and you cannot recall her name. The other error is misremembering, false recall, or false recognition. You see some who looks like her, line golf, and call the person by that name, false recognition of the face. Or you might see the real line golf, recognize her face, but then call her by the name of another woman you met up at the party. Duration and functions of memory storage systems. Whenever forgetting or misremembering occurs, we can ask at which stage in the learning memory process was there a failure, though it is often difficult to answer this question with precision. One reason for this inaccuracy is that three stages are not as discrete our description implies. Rather, all three stages depends on one another. How we encode information determines how it will be stored and what cues will be effective when we try to retrieve it. And two, the act of retrieval itself also changes the way information is subsequently remembered, usually aiding later recall of the retrieved information. The central point for new is that the three stages, encoding, storage, and retrieval, affect one another and are irrestrictably bound together. Sensory memory has duration of 0.5 to 3 seconds but has a large capacity. Short-term memory has a limited duration of 15 to 30 seconds and the limited capacity believed to be about 7 pieces of information. Long-term memory has long duration and an unlimited capacity. Write the ways to remember the learning materials for examinations. References: check your progress. Gateway of knowledge is known as repository organs, sense organs, excretory organs, reproductive organs. Olfactory senses related to the organ eye, ear, nose, tongue. Tactile senses related to the organ eye, ear, nose, tongue. A process brings one's focus on a specific stimulus is known as illusion, hallucination, sensation, attention. Attention aroused by the instinct is called dashed attention. Enforced non-volitional, spontaneous non-volitional, implicit volitional, explicit volitional. A brief holding of visual data in the sense organ is called STM, LTM, iconic memory. A brief holding of sound in the sense organ is called STM, LTM, iconic memory. A brief holding point of sensory information is called mental capacity to store the information and recall and recognize is called forgetting, imagination, memory, thinking. Mental revival of memorized things is known as learning, recall, retention, recognition. Thank you.